Hi folks, welcome back to We the People. I'm Dave Gallus, your host. We have a special guest today, and I believe, although I'm running for New Mexico State Senate in District 37, I believe probably the most important election that's coming up is for our county clerk. And a lot of people don't understand that the county clerk runs the elections, and if we don't have fair and honest elections, why are we running? So I'd like to introduce Cheryl DeYoung, who's running for county clerk, who is a good friend of mine. I've known Cheryl for quite a few years now. And so Cheryl, why don't you give us your background and why you're running for county clerk?
Yes, thank you for having me on today. My background is, first of all, I'm a native Las Cruces. I was born and raised here. Very proud of being a Las Cruces and a New Mexican. I went to public school like everyone else. I know that some of the Trojans are going to hold this against me, but I'm a dog, and we knew how to spell dog when I was a dog.
Not with an A, huh?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I loved living here. We started our family here, and then my husband and I left to go to Bible college in California. So we spent 11 years in California. We worked with the homeless. We worked in a ministry that pretty much worked with people coming out of prison, gangbangers,
wow.
A little bit of everything. We had a housing ministry, much, I guess you could say, similar to the Gospel Rescue Mission, except that we lived there as well.
And you folks, you and Henry run the Gospel Rescue Mission,
yes.
Henry Young, and it's very impressive. Takes care of a lot of people that are in need. So
that's right.
Thank you for that.
And so we've done that for years. God sent us back, and I'm going to use the G word because that's me. He sent us back to Las Cruces in 1987. We raised the family, finished raising our family here. I taught school for 27 years.
God bless you.
Loved doing, God called us into it. I loved teaching. And then in the 90s, God sent me to go to work on my grad degree in public history. And one of the things you learn in public history is how to handle documents, especially historical documents, and how valuable they are.
Okay.
And so that was one of the things I trained on. And then I worked for housing, which is really odd. Did things a little backwards. Lived on campus. While I was a grad student, I was a senator. I was a graduate senator.
Senator?
For ASNMSU.
Oh, okay.
I wrote bills. I wrote memorials. Pretty much anything that the Senate would do, I did.
All this would lend you to being expertise in in the clerk's office.
That's
so,
right.
Okay.
And towards the end of my terms as a grad senator, I rewrote the election code because we were having difficulties with the elections. There were a lot of problems with the elections. So we talked about it, discussed it, and we actually went via internet.
This is the election codes for the
ASNMSU student elections.
Okay.
And they still have it in place.
Ah.
So I feel like that's my legacy.
Yes.
The last semester, I was voted by the senators to be Senate Pro Tempore, which is an honor.
Yes.
So I led and mentored many of the senators. And then I went to work for housing. Mm-hmm. And then I worked for Tresco after I took care of my mother for several years who had Alzheimer's. And in Tresco, what do? We work on documents. We have to follow federal guidelines, state guidelines. You have to handle documents in such a way that if you mishandle a document, it could actually cost a person their life.
Ooh.
Because you're dealing with a fragile population. They're disabled adults.
Ah.
So I was a supervisor, the scheduling supervisor, where I handled a lot of the training. I did the training for orientation, so I'm well versed in how to train people to help them do the job properly.
Okay.
And one thing about when you work with adults like that, you are constantly training. You never quit training.
That's good.
So that is, to me, a very big priority. I also helped train when I worked for housing. I was in charge of the student hiring process. And so I really have a lot of...
So you have a background in elections, you have background in handling large groups of people in very delicate situations.
Administration.
Administration, okay.
And I worked the elections just, on election day before they had early voting, and then I started working early voting. And I've done that since the 90s. So I've seen all the changes that have happened from the different machines to different policies. I've sat through numerous trainings.
Right.
And honestly, especially when they went to the more technical, where they have the computers, I feel the training is lacking.
I would attest to that. And I hear you. You have a very good background that qualifies you to be not only an election official, but the top election official. So, and the reason I got involved in politics because I felt as though things were not being, what would you say, it wasn't a good representation of what the people wanted. And then, and being a policeman for 25 years, it's a little like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, that doesn't feel right. Well, my reasons for wanting to fix the elections, because I feel that there is corruption in elections.
Yes.
And I don't like to accuse anybody of anything unless I have a lot of information to back that up.
Right.
So I went into the office one time, and Andrew Ostick, who was very, very helpful a long time ago,
Yes.
I said, I want to help. And he says, okay, I want you to be the judge of elections at Oregon Firehouse. I said, Andrew, I've never been anything election official. He trained me well. And so I was the presiding judge at Oregon for 2 times. But then things just didn't seem as though we were getting a fair shake, because I was asked to be in a not so long ago election to be the presiding judge at City Hall. And I had been dealing with Amanda Askin and Lindsey Bachman for a while, but then I was told, okay, you have to now be an employee of Doña County to be a full, I was going to do early elections, which was 2 weeks of employment.
Right.
They had me jumping through so many hoops. I'm a retired policeman with a record there. I had a short career in the post office. They could check that. But it was almost as if they were slow-walking me to kind of discourage me from even wanting to be an official. So this in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is a little heavy. I mean, does everybody go through this? I mean, you never get anybody being an election official. So then it comes out, when it comes time, when they finally, after weeks and weeks and weeks of asking, have I been approved yet? They finally approved me, I think, only because I was a pest, and I was accusing them of being biased, so they approved me. Okay, now they say, well, you're not going to be the judge or the presiding judge at City Hall because somebody else is going to take that place, more experienced person. And I thought, well, who is that? And they said, Cheryl Young. I said, no problem. I trust Cheryl implicitly, so I'm glad she's going to do it because she absolutely is more experienced. So then they says, well, now I'm going to be the presiding judge at New Mexico State at Corbett Center. And I said, well, okay. And then they came back at the last minute and said, well, you're not going to be the presiding judge. You're going to be a judge of elections, which is a lower level. And I said, well, why is that? And they said, well, the woman we're going to put there, I think her name was Sandy, she is more experienced. And I said, okay. Well, I went there, and I find out that Sandy has never been a presiding judge. And I said, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's like, okay. So I went in to make a complaint at the county office to see Amanda or Lindsay. Nobody was there. But while I was there to make the complaint, or at least get information why, there was a Republican friend of mine that was told that she was dismissed. She was not needed as an election official. And I thought, they're always saying we don't have enough election officials. Why are they dismissing a Republican election official? Why are they giving a Republican a hard time about being a presiding judge and bouncing me around? So all these things are like building. And then the last thing probably is we found out that the Election Advisory Council was started in 2015, I believe it was.
Yes.
Some time ago. And the Election Advisory Council has been fully outfitted with mostly progressive, liberal, Democratic voters, which is okay. So I thought, well, let's get some Republicans in there. So we went as a group, and we started going to the meetings. Come to find out, if you want to elect a new official, a new board, oversight board, the chairman, vice chairman, and treasurer or secretary, you have to have somebody that's eligible to vote. You have to be at least one meeting. So we had plenty of people that were there, and Republicans as well as Democrats. And we found out that one of our people had been there for over 2 years, Chuck Wendler, and we found out that he was eligible to be nominated for one of those positions.
That's right.
Well, Chuck Wendler actually won the position of chairman.
He did.
And very shortly after that, they disbanded the Election Advisory Council.
That's true.
So all these things make me think, well, what's going on here? Is there something? And there's a paper put out. It's called Down the Hatch by a public interest legal foundation that actually maps out how there is, I wouldn't say subversive, but there is an activist group, a progressive activist group, or actually two. It's Common Cause New Mexico and New Mexico Cafe that are obviously activist group that are heavily involved in the Election Advisory Council. All these things make me question about the legitimacy of the elections. So all this stuff is things that prompted me to say what's going on. So I'd like to get your ideas about what you see and how it doesn't just seem quite right to you.
Well, one thing I want to address is you talked about them not allowing someone to work the election, turned away. When I was put at City Hall, I was down 2 people. And City Hall, other than the county building, was the most used place for voting.
Right.
So the day of election, we were down 2 people. A line started about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it was nonstop until about 6:20. I finally called. I had to call for something, and I called, and I actually talked to Andrew, who was always very helpful, and I said, Andrew, you have to get me some more workers. Right now we have, and we also had 2 machines went down. We had 3 machines, 2 of them went down, and we were short 2 workers. So we finally got some people in about 10:30 or so. But the problem was, none of us ever got to take a break. It was so busy, I really could not let anybody leave, and I couldn't leave because if there was a problem, I was the one who had to reprint, and that was just, it caused so many problems.
Right.
And so my problem with that was, why are they turning away people who were eligible to work when they didn't have enough workers?
And the question of why are they turning away Republicans?
That's true.
It's like, come on, folks, this is really obvious corruption here.
I agree. I will tell you that I was part of, about 2017, I started getting really, really involved, and a friend of mine, Betty Bishop, and I decided, we heard about this group, and so we decided we were going to join.
The Election Advisory Council.
What was it?
EAC.
EAC. And when we joined, we asked several people. We asked Chuck, and we asked some other people. We asked some of the other officers that were in the Republican Party to come, and some of them they really felt uncomfortable because they were so much in the minority.
Yeah, it had a creepy feeling to it, like you were not really wanted there.
But I thought about it a long time, and honestly, God told me, I'm going to use that, He said I had to really get in the middle, and I had to be with the people that maybe I wouldn't choose to normally run with, because no change can come if you stand back.
Right.
So He said, get in the middle and find out what's happening. So I got in the middle. The interesting thing is some of those people that weren't maybe with Cafe but were on the group that were influenced by Cafe, suddenly they had me and Betty who were speaking, and they started listening to what we said. And they found we would listen to them, and then we expected them to listen to us.
So there were decent people in there that really
there were
wanted
decent
to work
people, and
together.
so we would actually work together. And I decided if I was going to be a part of the group, I was really going to be part of the group. So there were separate committees that did different work.
Right.
I joined all but 2 committees.
Okay.
And I didn't just join them, I worked. If we had an assignment, I would take an assignment and I would work on it.
Right.
One of the things we were working on, something that talked about politics to the students and to people, and they would give definitions of what a Democrat, what a Republican, what a libertarian were.
Right.
And I worked on the definitions so they'd be small but succinct and actually show the difference. And I did the Republican and I did the libertarian.
So,
well, someone did the Democrat, and it was like a page and a half long. I said, no, it has to be small. So we worked on it and we got it done. But they were surprised because they would give me a task, and when we would meet the next time, I would have the task done.
So you were able to integrate and work with the other side.
And work with the other side.
We're going to take a short break. Time is flying here. So folks, stand by. Come right back after a short break, and we're here with Cheryl DeYoung, who's running for County Clerk in Doña County. See you in a minute.
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
They've stormed beaches and freed countries. They've raised our flag and our hope. They've been called leathernecks. They've been called devil dogs. But above all, they're called Marines.
Hi folks, welcome back to We the People. I'm Dave Gallus, your host. I'm running for New Mexico State Senate in District 37, but today we have a special guest, Cheryl DeYoung, who's running for County Clerk, probably the most important election that we can elector we can elect. So Cheryl, why don't you tell us about what you see as corruption lately or whatever?
Well, the first thing I want to address is on October 6th, Amanda Askin was not only in the office, but she came out of the door, stood by the front door where the people who were voting had to go in, and she, no matter what she says, that's electioneering. I had someone question, they sent me something and asked, was she there to intimidate and coerce? Because in the election code it says that we're not supposed to be there because we can intimidate voters or we can coerce them.
And Amanda she's actually a candidate,
She
so
is a
she is not
candidate.
supposed to be in the office at all.
That is right. And so
Okay.
she was not only in the office, but she walked the line.
Whoa.
I saw her, but if I had gotten close enough to get a picture, I would have been in violation of the election code. And I refuse to violate the election code just to prove a point. But people saw her. Many people saw her. Another problem I have is she says that the voter rolls are good. We know that in the primary in June, 8,900 ballots came back undeliverable. These are absentee ballots. That's a lot of ballots. So those undeliverable ballots, would they suddenly show up being used somewhere? We don't know.
Undeliverable means that there is no person at that location.
That is true, which I am walking and I'm knocking on doors. And people, I want you to know that seldom a night goes by when I'm walking and knocking that I find an address that does not exist. If the rolls have addresses that do not exist, there's something wrong with the voter rolls. I know of 2 addresses that don't exist. Not only do they not exist, but there are 2 people, one at each one of those addresses, who have requested an absentee ballot. They don't live there. The house isn't there, but they're getting an absentee ballot, and it has been mailed to them. So one of them used to have apartments. The apartments are gone. But in front, there's 3 little mailboxes right out by the street. And one of those mailboxes, someone requested an absentee ballot. Does that person live in that mailbox? I question the veracity of our county clerk when she says that the voter registration roll is actually they go in and they pull out people that don't exist. That's not true. I was told that I was wrong, but I challenge you. Show me how accurate it is, and I'll show you how inaccurate it is. Another problem I have with her is in June, they gave the challengers, who by law are allowed to be in the election process and observe and challenge. And the challengers challenged some of the absentee ballots. They said they didn't have the proper ID on them. When they challenged them, the presiding judge of the absentee electoral group is supposed to actually document that they were challenged. That didn't happen. When they printed out and sent out the forms that are sent, nothing was documented. So all of the challengers are very upset because they made challenges that were never documented. Why aren't you documenting them? That to me shows there's no transparency. It shows that something's going on behind the scenes that you don't want to be seen. I challenge you, Amanda. Who is behind you? Where are you hiding the ballots? I believe, just like in 2018, when you suddenly produced 8,000 ballots, that somewhere in the background, you have ballots stored away so that when the election isn't going the way you want it, suddenly those ballots are going to be discovered and we're going to have to count them. Where are you hiding them, Amanda? People, we need to understand who she is. She seems very charming, but I'm telling you that if we don't make a change and you don't vote for me, Cheryl DeYoung, as county clerk, nothing will change. Elections will still be corrupt, the rolls will still be invalid, and people will still be voting that don't even live.
Wow. Holy smoke, Cheryl. Well, folks, you heard it, and this is the truth. It's so important that you get out and vote. Now, you can vote Democrat, you can vote Republican, whatever you do, vote. Now, there's two websites that our producer will put up on the screen. You can go to dacelections.com, and dacelections.com will give you the early voting locations, and early voting has already started at the county building on the 6th, but early voting in alternate locations, which have 3 locations in Las Cruces, City Hall, NMSU Corbett Center, and Sonoma Elementary School in Northrise, that'll start on the 17th. And so that's a very good location.
The hours are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
11 a to 7 p.m. And then another good location, and it's a little hard to navigate, but it's a very good location. It's vote411.org, and that's the League of Women Voters put out this information, and you can actually print out a sample. Well, you can print out a sample ballot. You can I don't know if it's which one, DAC Elections, I don't know if that's to print out the sample ballot or not, but one of the two, you can print out your sample ballot, but with the 411.org, you can see the questions that were asked of the candidates, myself, Bill Souls, Cheryl DeYoung, and Amanda Askin, and some people don't answer the questions, and that says something right there. If you're not willing to answer questions, what are they trying to hide? But so you can see that there's a lot of information in there. So I would suggest that you go there. Cheryl, is there anything else you'd like to cover? I mean, I feel as though it's corrupt. You feel as though it's corrupt. I think a lot of people are so burned up at the fact that we had ranked choice voting and never had a say in it. Yes. Our city council, I don't know if that was in collusion. I'm sure it was in collusion with the county office. And I also understand that that is a violation of the city charter. I believe someone's putting in a mandamus brief to challenge that. Hopefully we won't have to do ranked choice voting again, but there's so many things that feel crooked. And if you get enough information and you keep trying to dismiss, well, no, they're good people. Well, guess what, folks? Not everybody's a good and honest person, so it's up to us to hold them accountable. We are willing to run for office to represent you, but you have to do your part now and vote. And once we get in office, we're going to count on you to support us helping you. So whenever something comes up that we need people to support us in City Council, County Commission, Santa Fe, when I get up there, the House members, we need you to get there and support us that we can help you. So Cheryl, what else do you have?
I just want to say that if you want integrity, transparency, and honesty to return to the county clerk's office, I will do that. I will clean house. People who have been behind this corruption, beware. Because when I come in, I will know who you are, and things will change. I want Dona County to be the city shining on the hill. And people say, if you want good elections, look at Dona County. We've been the black eye for too long. Let's change things. Vote for me, Cheryl DeYoung, for county clerk.
I say to myself, why is it that Southern New Mexico is not doing well? We don't get things done that we want to get done. When we go to city council and county commission meetings and even to Santa Fe, we don't seem to be we're not being heard, or at least we might be heard, but I think they kind of dismiss us. The reason why is because we don't have a big voter turnout. It's up to you folks.
That's right.
You have to vote. If you don't vote, Santa Fe and the other cities, the big cities that are progressive cities, they just run right over us. The whole point is we want to help you. As a senator, I'm willing to work for you for nothing. We don't get paid. We get reimbursed for our travel expenses back and forth to Santa Fe in session, but I can only help you if you help me, as well as Cheryl. We have to support the candidates. Now, I have many Democratic friends, and I would say to my Democratic friends, you have to question, is your party leaving you? Is it the party that you really want to represent you? Because I know the Republican Party. I know the Republican Party wants fairness, like Cheryl says, transparency. We want voter identification, so there's no question. We want to clean up the voter rolls. We want to help, but we can't help unless we know what you want. We only know what you want by your vote. So your vote is your voice. So, folks, whatever you do, get out and vote. Early elections already started on the 6th. 17th starts at the voting locations. And like I said, there's 3 in Las Cruces. There's 1 in Hatch, 1 in Sunland Park, 1 in Chaparral, 1 in Anthony. And, of course, we have voting day. But I would say don't wait for voting day on November 3rd because it's going to be crowded. When I went to vote on November 6th, it wrapped around the county building. So please, and if you want to make sure your vote counts and counts correctly, go in person, make sure your ballot is put in the machine by you, and you hear that little ding that says your ballot has been accepted, and you'll get your little sticker that says I voted. So again, Cheryl DeYoung, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
County Clerk, we got to stop the corruption, and the only way to do it is with you at the voting booth. Well, thanks, folks. It's been a pleasure. Cheryl DeYoung, Dave Gallus, we're out here for you. So take care. See you next week.